Okay,
Hi,
fantastic.
TJ.
So, hello, Danielle. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Yes, I was very excited when they said that I could get a one-on-one with you because anytime we get a chance to talk to you, we're always happy.
You're so sweet.
So, obviously, I know on this film you were the visual effects supervisor, but you did bring up one thing about lighting, and I got to go there real quick.
Okay.
um, so I loved that the story that you told about the lighting team having to go back, like Domi said, push it a little bit further.
Yeah.
But the thing is, as I was watching the movie, is the backgrounds, not necessarily the characters. They still had highlights and shadows, but the backgrounds don't have as stark of
Yeah.
blacks and whites and
Yeah.
elements like that. Does that cause any type of trouble, or is that just looking at the tool in a different way? How did that work? Because it looks
Yeah.
so cool.
Thank you. Right on. Some of the early reference that Rona was putting together, it was really the daytime stuff was pretty low contrast. And, as a lighting person, I was like, we use
Yeah.
contrast all the time to direct the eye. And so low contrast is a little bit, it makes things harder. And so with
Yeah.
how much of a problem is this going to be? Jonathan Pitko, it was his first time directing the lighting on the film. He did a fabulous job. It was such a pleasure to watch him work.
Yeah.
And he totally figured out, he mind melded with Rona and they worked really hard on it. And it was part of that also is in that exact moment that I was talking about the other day, where, like Domi's asking them to push it and they go away and they're working on it. And what they're really doing is something they were calling red atmos. So meaning turning red, not actually the color red. And it's some amount of, it's not straight up atmosphere because then it would just look foggy kind of thing.
Yeah. Like in your Wall-E
right?
examples. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's much more about it's messing with contrast and color in really interesting ways. So everything is vibrant in terms of everything has some color, but it's not super saturated.
Yeah.
Kind of the way Coco was. And so it's this, it was this extra piece they were layering on that they had a ton of control over. And so they could move it around. And so you could actually kind of knock things back and bring things forward with those bits of kind of the red atmos. And so it allowed you to pop the characters in a different way. It kind of kept the backgrounds more in this range of contrast that they were going for. And then they could go in and layer in all this, like, I don't know if you noticed in any of the nighttime scenes, there's like these bubbles around every light source that's very anime. Every sort of piece of glass where it's not distracting, but like all the building windows, they have these streaks on it that's pulled from anime, and all that was done in lighting. So they were doing all these kind of subtle but really cool things to just get it to this different place. It was really fun.
Yeah, it looks so gorgeous, like those rainbow lens flares and everything in this is just pops in such a cool way. Okay, so the other thing that I want to understand is the profile movers. So you talked about it. First off, how big of a risk is that in inserting something that's an unproven technology? Now, I know that's something that has to happen with these movies all the time because, you guys are always pushing the limits. Yeah. But is that a big risk? If that doesn't work, how would you have had to backtrack some work?
Yeah, I think it felt like a risk. It probably felt like an extra risk for me because I think having spent so much time in lighting, which is considered a more creative than technical department, I already am a non-traditional pick to be the visual effects supervisor. We're typically picked very technical people for this role. Yeah. And so me saying, we're using this technology that's sort of unproven in one of our main characters, that definitely felt like a risk. Yeah. And so, so extra cool, it paid off because it did. But, for me, like way back on Monsters Incorporated, I was in the modeling department for a year and did a little bit of articulation. Yeah. And when Bill Scheffler, who came up with this technology, who's a longtime articulator in our characters department, he thought there's a different way to do this. And then he went and talked to a couple of the folks in our R&D group, and they started working on it, gave this presentation about it. And from my very limited knowledge back in 2000 or something about articulation, to me, it was like of course, that's how you should do it. If the computer can help you do that, that is how you should be doing this, because it's such a much closer one-to-one on the creative of, you really get to think about what's the silhouette of the character you're going for? What is the shape of the mouth you're going for? Yep. And instead, the computer is solving for how to move the points to get there instead of an artist sitting in there moving points around.
Yeah.
And so even though it was unproven, it could have backfired for sure. It was not in any kind of state where it was like, oh yeah, this will definitely work. It felt like it was worth the risk. And especially because we didn't just have normal characters, like we knew Panda May was going to be really hard.
Yeah.
Domi was going for these, she was drawing these crazy mouths with bean shapes and this cat mouth and this teeny tiny and these giant, huge ones. And, Panda May is this manifestation of this teenage girl's emotions like that. It's got to be some like big emotional acting. So I think it was definitely a risk, but I think I had multiple good reasons for thinking that it was the right way to go, whether it panned out or not.
Well, that is awesome. That is awesome. I'm glad you took the risk. And I hope that in the future film, you'll be in the same role, pushing the envelope again, as we know you will. All right. Well, I'm getting the digital hook off from the side. So until next time, I can't wait to talk to you again. And I can't wait for everybody to see Turning Red. It looks awesome.
Thanks, TJ. It's nice to see you.
Likewise. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.